completely different thing from what we're talking about. The issue in that book is, okay, you have somebody writing the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then you have Paul writing his letters. You have these other books of the New Testament. But the question in this book is, how did we actually get those books? We don't have Matthew's Gospel. We don't have the original thing he wrote. What we have are copies that were made of that original thing he wrote. And as it turns out, we don't actually have the first copies. We don't have copies of the copies, and we don't have copies of the copies of the copies. We have copies that are from, so the first time we get a complete copy of the Gospel of Matthew, like from beginning to end with a manuscript, the whole thing is 300 years later.
Oh my gosh.
And so people have been copying this book for hundreds of years. Before we have a complete copy, we don't start getting lots of copies for many hundreds of years. So we have lots of copies now, but they're from the Middle Ages. And the question I deal with in this book is, if copyists are copying this thing and they're changing it the whole time, as they obviously are, because you have these manuscripts that are all different from each other, and usually in just very small ways, but sometimes in significant ways. If you don't have the originals or the original copy, how do you know what he wrote? And so that is the task that scholars have taken on themselves, is to, and it's not just the New Testament, it's every book from the ancient world has exactly the same problem. I mean, the Hebrew Bible, but also, I mean, it doesn't matter, Plato or Aristotle or Euripides, you name your author, you have this problem. And people don't realize that it's a problem. And for most people, it doesn't matter whether you know the original words of Plato's Republic. I mean, they don't really, but if it turns out you don't have the original words of the Gospel of John, that matters to people. And so that's why it's an important issue that I deal with in my book, Misquoting Jesus.